Right, so now we are talking about the physiological function theory of dreams. Now, if you remember kind of earlier from this semester, what we've talked about, physiological, we're talking about our body, right? We're talking about things that are happening, and this is different from psychological. Okay, so kind of remember that distinction as we move through these couple slides. So the key idea in the physiological function theory is that we dream to preserve neural pathways. Now, you all should be experts in neural pathways by now, right? Remember our central nervous system, remember our neurons, how they communicate, right? Sensory input, um, integration, and then motor output, that same process. So the idea is that by dreaming, we can preserve those neural pathways that our brain needs to exercise to stay stimulated to keep our neural pathways strong. So essentially, we're dreaming to keep our brain active. That this theory suggests that a dream is really just brain exercise, because if you remember when we talked about pruning and when we talked about brain plasticity and the idea that the more you practice something, the more you're exposed to something, the more your brain folds to make space, right? More neural connections are made, and the stronger and the more you have, the more you remember it, the more you'll be able to practice it, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what this theory is saying, that we have to dream in order to keep those pathways strong. And so as we think about, sleep helping us grow, that stimulated experiences, right? And a stimulating experience is a dream. That's kind of another word for dream. It preserves and expands our brain's neural pathways. And we see this in infants whose neural networks develop really fast. They spend a lot of their time, their sleep time, in REM sleep. So they're in that more deeper, that later stage of sleep where dreaming is happening. They spend a lot of their time there. And so that kind of beefs up the idea that the goal of dreaming is to keep those neural pathways stronger. However, the criticism would be, if dreams are just stimulation, then why do we have meaningful dreams, right? If the only goal is to keep the neural pathways strong, then there really would be no need to have these really deep, rich, meaningful dreams where there's people that we know in them, there's events that have happened, there's messages and things in there that are really relevant to us. That doesn't really address that. So I think that as you think about this theory, it can certainly be part of it. However, it doesn't fully answer the why do we dream question, but it gets us closer to that answer, I think, than some of the others that we've talked about so far this week. So this is our third theory. We're going to move on tomorrow to neural activation theory, which I think has some connection to this one as well. You'll see the last three are kind of close. So just keep in mind this idea that in order to keep our brains strong, in order to keep our neural pathways strong, we dream. It's like brain exercise.